Raul is with us in Albuquerque. Hey, how are you?
Hi, great. How about you?
Good. How can I help?
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
So we really need some advice as far as our mortgage goes on my family home. Our mortgage is currently in the foreclosure process. Payments haven't been made in about 8 months now.
Why?
So we had some family circumstances change about almost 2 years ago. We lost my mother. And in the time being, my father has moved on, and he hasn't lived in the home, and he's, wanting to get a move on. And so given what's going on with the home, I am looking for an apartment. I'm looking for a place for myself.
How old are you?
I'm 24.
Okay, so your mom passed away?
Yes, 2 years ago.
And then your dad just packed up and left?
No. It was about a year later that he moved. He didn't move far. He lives up the street, but he wanted to move out of the house.
Well, okay, because she passed away there.
He met someone new.
Yeah. Why didn't he? Oh, he met someone new.
Yeah, he met someone new, so he's paying bills with her now.
And just decided to just walk off from his mortgage.
Not necessarily, no. He stopped paying the mortgage not too long ago, less than a year ago. But what we were planning to do was to sell the house.
There is no we. You don't own the house. He does.
Right, he does. So this is what I wanted to ask. So here's the situation with the mortgage. There is still $161 owed on the principal. The house is valued maybe on the high end about $170. But in the life of the mortgage, $40 had been deferred because I think there might have been a point where they had fallen behind on payments when I was a teenager or something. I'm not sure exactly. But at this point, with the 8 months past due, there's about $12,000 past due. Now, what I figured is that, based upon my mental math, I figured that with what I spent in renting an apartment, in maybe about 5 years, I could probably catch up on that $40,000 and the $12,000. So I'm wondering if, for the sake of saving my family home, if it would be a wise decision for me personally to take over payments,
no,
just for the sake of saving the family home,
no,
and to take it out of the foreclosure process. No.
The family wasn't interested in saving the family home. Only you are. And you're 24 years old, and this is a payment you can't afford, and it's a situation that you're starting at sub-zero. You're starting below ground, and I wouldn't start below ground at 24 years old. I'm sorry this has all happened to your family, and it sounds like a whole series of things that are heartbreaking have gone on for you. But don't compound that with getting stuck in a mud hole here, and mathematically, financially, that's what you're getting ready to do. This is not a good deal for you. You can start at zero and you'll be better off rather than starting below ground $40,000 or $12,000 or whatever. And it's not your fault. You didn't do it, and it wasn't your responsibility. You didn't sign up for this.
Right. Well, the original plan was that I would inherit the home at some point. And so me, I've lived a while. I've traveled the world. That's what I wanted to do when I finished college. And, I'm feeling ready to take on the responsibility. And I feel that if I wanted to honor my mother's memory, if I wanted to...
It doesn't honor your mother's memory.
To take on my inheritance, I would be willing to take on the responsibility to help catch up the mortgage.
It's not.
And I figure Albuquerque...
It's not an inheritance.
Cheap market.
Giving someone a pile of debt is not an inheritance. Giving them an asset is inheritance, and this is not an asset. It's a mess. And what do you make a year?
Right now, I'm not making much. Right now I'm still a server and I'm an intern, so maybe about 20 on the high end, maybe 25 right now. But I did just apply for a full-time position that pays about 45 a year. But if that doesn't work out, I'm going to go ahead and work pretty hard to find a full-time job that makes me a better living. Yeah.
Well, you need to do that for you. That's a good career move on your part. I don't know what messages have been sent through your family, but your dad walked off from his responsibilities on this for his new girlfriend and left a 24-year-old server holding the bag. That's
right. And he doesn't necessarily want me to bear the burden either.
I know.
I'm just willing to take it on.
You don't have any obligation. You don't need to be willing. You don't have an obligation.
Right.
You have zero obligation to this situation, and it's not good for you. You don't have the money to handle it. It's going to bury you, and there's some kind of toxic draw to this for you, and I want to try to set you free from it. Maybe your mom wished for things to be better. I mean, if they had left you a home that had $200,000 worth of equity in it, and you could scratch and claw and come up with $12,000 and save that, that's fine. But this thing's got no equity, and it's over your head. It's not worth scratching and clawing and coming up with $12,000 to save $5,000 of equity.
Right. So So determination to do, to make up for it is not enough to take it on. Then.
Yeah. The payoff for the lift is not there, especially given that you're not in a position to do the lift anyway. It'd be very difficult for you mathematically to pull this off, but it might be worth saying, hey, work 6 jobs, go crazy, if we were saving $200,000 or something. But we're saving $5,000, and you're taking on a payment you can't afford.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not good for you.
Yeah, and then I figure in the short run, it would be a pain to catch up. But I figure in the long run, once I, have a better job, a better career, I can make it to where the mortgage payment.
Let's pretend you were living. Let's pretend you were living in a friend's basement and we're not paying rent. Yeah. And someone called you up and said, "Hey, I've got a $170,000 house I will sell you for nothing down. It has no equity, but you can buy it for nothing down and move in and start making the payments." You wouldn't do that today. You're not in a position to do that. That would not be a blessing. You would not look into the future and go, well, it could pay off eventually. Eventually I could get it paid down. That might be a good deal. No, it's not a good deal. Because it's not a blessing. It's a curse at that point. It becomes something you can't carry. So I'm so sorry you guys are facing this. I'm sorry you've gone through all this heartbreak. And letting go of this house is a little bit tied to the grief of your mom. I can hear that in your voice and hear how hard you're fighting for this. But you have no moral or legal or family obligation. None whatsoever in this. None. This is not a blessing. Your family does not want you to take on a curse. If they do, your family's toxic. And your dad just decided he didn't want anymore. He's letting it be foreclosed on. He just threw up his hands and walked away. And please don't pick up his mess and call that an inheritance. It's just not. Your best inheritance is the memory of your mom, the good parts of your dad that you know about, and you take those and you move that into the next generation, and you move that into your future. And it's not about a house. There's houses on every corner. Please walk away from this. Please. You call for my advice, sir, and it's a dangerous thing to do because I will give it to you. I will do everything I can to help you, even against your will sometimes. And that's what this show's about.